Well, welcome back. And I know today we're going to do a really interesting video, totally different than anything I've done on the channel before. I'm actually planning on doing some crazy videos pretty soon, but this one is just going to be totally different. And is mainly about introverts and introverted women. And one of the main reasons why I want to do this video was just simply because most guys out there, what you guys are really looking for is an introvert. And I am not against women who are extroverts. I've actually dated a couple of extroverts. And then you have what's called an ambivert. And an ambivert, for those that do not know, is basically a person that can be inside, they can be outside, they're happy at both, right? So why are a lot of women introverted, and why is it a good thing for them to be introverted? Well, introverted women generally want to be inside. That's generally what it means. Or they want to be with a very small knit of people. Most introverted women do not like big crowds. They don't really like doing too much, like I said, outside of their safety group net. Okay, and there's lots of different types of introverts. Like I say, not all introverts just want to be 100% in the house. Okay, some of them want to be out. And a lot of the introverted women, it's harder to get to them. Why? They're not at the club. They're not at all these restaurants. They're not all these places. They generally are in their house. So in order to get to them, you kind of have to know how to get to them. And for a lot of introverted women that go to church, I'm always encouraging the introverted women to like hang out after church. I know it's painful. I know you don't want to do it, but you've got to put yourself in spaces where you can meet men. And see, a lot of introverted women used to hang out in dating apps. You know, before the pandemic, a lot of introverted women were on dating apps. But what happened was when everybody was inside, that was the only way for men to find women. I think a lot of men really kind of damaged introverted women, because a lot of introverted women, they just don't have that experience like that. And a lot of them are shyer, they're quieter, they're sweeter. And so you just can't come up to them, you know, talking to them any old kind of way. It just kind of pushes them out of those spaces. And a lot of times when they're out of those spaces, they don't return. Okay. And so it's just one of those things that you have to be, you know, really cautious about, because again, men, when you're dealing with different types of women, you have to stop seeing all women in one bucket.
Yeah, it's hard for introverted people, not just offices, but everywhere. Okay, everywhere that you have to work with people. I feel like most introverts would thrive if they had their own businesses and work for themselves, because it is hard. Okay, it is hard to the point that you get traumatized that you don't even want to go into work sometimes, and people don't understand what comes with that. Like, you have to become somebody else other than yourself to be able to work with other people, because people do not understand that there are people who just keep to themselves, who are just quiet, who are just reserved, and it has nothing to do with them being stuck up. It has nothing to do with you. It just has everything to do with them. You just leave them alone, let them do their work, and just let them go home.
How about being tone policed even when silent? My silence also is an attitude. Bruh, I cannot even tell y'all how many times I got this from so many supervisors, especially while I was in grad school. Like, oh, Shonda, you're too quiet. You're not engaging with the other students. You're not talkative enough. Like, what do y'all want me to do? Freestyle? I'm not about to sit here and talk when I have nothing to say. But then I was reading an article about this, and it made so much sense. It's called Black Women Aren't Allowed to Be Introverted. I need y'all to look this up.
So again, what's happening? What are you seeing, guys? You're seeing these women, and they act totally different than a lot of the videos that constantly are getting pushed on social media. I'm constantly telling you, social media has an agenda. Okay, it has an agenda from the enemy. Number one, you know, the spiritual enemy, i.e. the devil. But you also have people that just want to make money. They just want to make money. And so they're not going to find videos like this. They're not going to put videos like this up on their channel. They're not going to talk about introverted women. They're not going to talk about sweet women, because that would go against their thesis statement that they're actually trying to make to you. Because see, every single channel that you watch, you can almost look at it like a documentary, right? Something like 2020 or Dateline or whatever it is that you personally like to watch. So what happens is they're trying to push a theory. They're trying to push something forward. So you can't have really ghetto, angry black women that roll their neck and they think that they better than anybody else in the world, and then follow it up and say, well, there are these other group of women that are really sweet and nice and beautiful. Yeah, you can't do that because you have to push one narrative. And see, this is the problem that I have when they're trying to push one narrative. And I don't understand how anybody trusts them. I just don't. How can you trust somebody that's not showing you the whole picture or even trying to show you the whole picture? I know a lot of people, they try to get on me in the comments because they'll be like, well, how can you assume that? And how can you say that? And it's because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find balance. And I'm trying to talk about the things that we don't see. We can't just look at somebody that basically robbed a bank and say, okay, well, let's look at him just robbing a bank and that's it. And there's people in the world that do this. People that believe you have to build more jails and all this other kind of stuff. And then you got other people that 100% want to just jump to his past and say, well, we need more education and we need this and we need places, for men to go after school and blah, blah, blah. And so you got some people that just look at that side. They don't even want to look at the jail side. And what I'm saying is you got to look at both. You got to look at both because there's a lot of people that started in single parent households in the hood, didn't have nothing going for themselves, but never got in the gang, never robbed no bank, never did anything wrong and became a productive member of society. So what we have to say is we got to look at everything. We have to analyze everything and then try to find the heart of how we can create solutions.
Who sets boundaries between my work life and my personal life? This is always the sticking point in my performance reviews. Like, Harami, you gotta talk more, you gotta speak up more. And it's funny because I always feel like I'm speaking up as much as I can, like as comfortably as I want to. And then I'll go into performance review and it's like, you too quiet. I'm like, I can't help it. I code switch and it's just something that's ingrained with me. I like to set my boundaries. And 3, y'all don't gotta know what I did last weekend. Like, I don't want you to know everything about my life. It is okay for me to have boundaries between my professional and my personal because work is not my life. Like, my 9 to 5 is my 9 to 5. After that, that's Karami time.
For guys, see, here's a woman who is saying career really doesn't matter. She's kind of saying that. She's like, my 9 to 5 is my 9 to 5, but once it's over, it's me time. I don't really date professional women because of that. If I'm dealing with a woman who is basically putting her career over her family, that's a no. That's an auto no. As soon as I feel that energy from you, I don't care how beautiful you are, it is a no. And I'm gonna be real. I have dated a woman, there's one particular woman, and she still pops up into my mind because if you could have said, Jay, what is your dream woman? What does she look like? This woman was like 95% there. I mean, she was 95% there, but she put career over family and told me multiple times that was how she felt. And that was it. We didn't make it any further. And see, that's again what, guys, for the guys that are watching, they always like, well, there's no good women in America. There's no good women in America. No, there's plenty of good women in America. There's plenty of good women that want to be great wives. You just have to find them and you have to know how to identify them. And the very first thing is that a woman that puts her career over her family, because I know none of those women watching me anyway, but a woman who puts her career over her family, she's going to get what she wants. Her career is going to come first. She's going to spend time building her career. And when she tries to go back and try to have a family, she might succeed, but it's unlikely. And a lot of the women that are arguing and that are in these spaces arguing, those are the women that are arguing because they thought that they could have their cake and eat it too. And then they found out that a lot of them couldn't. Now, some of them can. I'm not throwing them all out. I'm just saying that as long as they put their heart, they turn their heart back on and they become humble, yes, they can get married. They won't have a problem getting married because a lot of these women, like I said, are very attractive. But when you're starting to deal with introverted women, okay, and see, this is what most of you guys are looking for. Like I said, women that don't care about their career. It's just a job. It's just something I use to make money. Now, if you as a guy cannot pick these women, you don't know how to find these women, you don't know what these women look like when they're really right next to you, then that's on you. Okay, if you've been hanging around on my channel for a long period of time, you know as a guy that I will tell women all the time that if they cannot find good men, it's on them. It's on them. It's 100% on them. A woman that can look at a man and say, I want the thug, or I want the guy that looks like he's fun, or I want the guy that looks like he's cool, instead of the guy that looks like he's going to take care of me, then that's on the woman. She made that choice. You made that choice. I mean, you know, like people say, you know, you dug your grave. Now get in it. Okay, now if you want to come out of that grave and apologize and say to your, you know, when I say apologize, I'm talking about apologize to the world. I'm talking about apologize to yourself. Okay, and basically get yourself into a situation where you're like, well, you know, I made some mistakes. Okay, let me change it. And you haven't brought too much, you know, dead bones out of that grave with you. Then you should be able to, you know, make that switch. It's the same thing for men. If you're going after these super successful, super beautiful women, and I'm gonna be honest with you, like I told you, most of the women that are in the club, those ain't the good women. Now, there are some good ones in there because a lot of times the bad ones bring their one good friend. But the issue even with that is if that good friend is a thinking woman, she is going to be affected by what her friends tell her and by what her friends are doing. So you want a woman where most of her friends, at least half of her friends, are married. Because that means she has marriage energy in her. She just hasn't gotten to that point of being married yet. But again, for guys, if you are going after these extroverted women that are rising up the ladder and all this other kind of stuff, dude, that's on you. You need to be able to identify sweet, kind women that are right next to you, and they can be just as beautiful. That's why I love really the last two women, because both of them were extremely attractive. And you have to be able to pick them out.
This might be a hot take, but as a quiet, introverted Black woman, I find that this is especially true and actually exacerbated if they're in a situation with other Black women that are falling into that entertaining, sassy Black woman like kind of stereotype. Now, definitely watch the original video, but to give you the cliff notes, they're talking about how there's an article called Black Women Can't Be Quiet or Introverted in the Workplace, and if they're not upholding the stereotype of being that, you know, y'all all know that one like very entertaining, funny, sassy Black woman, if you're not falling into that, then people instantly assume you don't like them or you're stuck up or whatever else. And I mean, growing up at work, even in grad school, I continue to get the feedback that, oh my gosh, you're quiet, you could speak up more, blah, blah, blah. And so basically I was growing up conditioned to believe that being quiet is bad and you have to basically change yourself to be successful, especially in a place like business.
It can be really hard being a person that is not like a surface level person. The way I see things are not surface level. The type of conversations that I want to have are not surface level conversations. Nothing exhausts me more than inauthentic interactions. And I'm not saying I can't have small talk, because I can absolutely have small talk. But I want to be around people that I can talk about nothing with and everything with at the same time. And I'm realizing the more that you work on your inner self, your spiritual being, the less interesting you are to people, to men, to people, to in general that haven't done any type of inner work. People who are not connected to anything but the surface level and
the thing I like about all those women wasn't just the fact that they were introverted, but it was also the fact that they, and even the last lady kind of went into it a little bit, talking about even with relationships, and how for her, it's about the depth of the conversation. And it's about, you know, really kind of going in, you know, and getting a little bit more than surface level. One of the issues, I'll be honest with you, you know, about me is, you know, there's a saying about certain people, and they'll say, I've never met a stranger. Like I have a guy in CSC, and he talks like that. He says, I've never met a stranger. I've never met a stranger. And the reason why this is, that energy is very, and it's nothing against him. It's just that he really likes to have that intro. He likes to say, hey, how you doing? And, oh, you look good. And I like your dress and all the other kind of stuff. And I mean, he's that type of guy. And so I used to, tell women in the group all the time that those types of men do very well, when it comes to dating. And I was like, guys like me, we're the marriage type, but it's a lot more difficult because everybody I meet is a stranger. And I don't know you. And if I don't know you, I don't know what to talk to you about. And I don't just bring up, what I would consider trivial information. That's not who I am. I like to have a really deep conversation. I mean, you can tell just by my channel. Most of my things are very long. A lot of my videos are very long. They're very detailed. They pull up a lot of information from a lot of different places because that's how I talk. I talk like that all the time. And when I run into a woman who can talk like that as well and can speak to that, I'm in love. I'm like, oh, wow, you're really doing it. And so, again, this is one of those types of things where I'm constantly telling people that it's not this one thing. There's not these women and or men, for the women that are watching, that are just in these 2 or 3 buckets. It is literally a spectrum. And so for me, when I am near women like the women that you have seen, and we start to have deeper conversations and they're a little bit quieter. And then when I say, hey, you want to do something? They're like, oh, I would love to go for a walk or something like that. And they're not saying, well, I want to go to a club or there was this brand new restaurant, even though I am a little bit of a foodie. They're not saying, oh, I got to go to this brand new restaurant that just opened. And, see, it's a different energy. And see, that different energy is the energy that really kind of more aligns with who I am. And that's why I'm saying if you as a man and a woman, and or a woman, if you are constantly attracted to people that don't align with what you want out of life, while I don't mind you going overseas, what I'm saying is there's people here. There really is people here. And many of them are right there, but you have to know how to pick them out. Now, that being said, introverted women are very hard to find because they do like to hang out on social media. But I'll be real, they're not that quick to talk to you if you drop into their DMs. And it's not just because they don't really want to talk to you. It's just that many of them, and this is their own Achilles heel, is that many of them are somewhat, the term is called sapiosexual, right? So don't think I'm getting all weird and crazy with that term. It has nothing to do with some of the stuff that goes on here in Atlanta. Sapiosexual just means that you fall in love with somebody's mind, that you're very much into how they think and how they work. Well, the problem with introverts, for the introverts that are watching me right now, the problem is in order to do that, you have to talk to them. You have to talk to the man. You have to talk to the woman. And how are you going to talk if you don't ever engage in conversation? This is one of the main reasons why I'm always encouraging women to allow a man to talk to you. Don't be so quick to dismiss him and then kind of scurry off to your car and drive home. Okay, because that is a recipe of being alone. You have to allow men to talk to you. And now one of the things that some introverts do is they try to pick the man. And so if you are a guy and you can put yourself, and this is why I encourage guys to volunteer, and I do encourage men to volunteer all the time, because a lot of times if you're volunteering at your church and you're an usher or something like that, even if you're not in leadership position, if the woman sees you and she sees that you're doing manly things, then she might come to you. And a lot of introverted women, they do that. They are really the person that makes the move. And the reason why they're making the move is because they know that if they don't make the move, they're going to go home and they're never going to come out of there again. So they're trying to say, okay, hey, I'm here. Pay attention to me now. Maybe we can have a conversation, blah, 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 so that they can start that process. Right? But the main reason why, like I said, I wanted to make this video was just to kind of let a lot of men know that these women are here. And again, I'm not against extroverted women, but I am saying for most men, the way that you all talk about the type of woman that you're looking for, you're really looking for a more introverted, ambiverted woman who is probably leaning a little bit more thinking type with a little bit of heart type. And if you can find those women, and if you understand what those women look like, then you don't have to go overseas. You can actually find a woman here, because Black love does exist in America. Anyway, if you like this video, please send it to 5 people, and also like that button. That does affect YouTube and how well they push it. All right. So please like it. Please send it to 5 people. And then if you're brand new and you like this video, please subscribe, because I am all about what you see on the screen, which is getting people married. All right. So I will see you all in the very next video.